Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Money Maverick podcast, where we expose the fallacies of traditional financial advice. I'm Tim Turley, the host of today's episode. We're coming to you from the Money Maverick studio in Salt Lake City, Utah. We have a new Maverick guest this week, co-host and Maverick guest, Mr. Darren Cardwell. But before we get into that, for those of you that ask how to get a hold of us and find out what we do outside the podcast, you can learn more about true financial principles and some of the things we talk about on the podcast by going to www.uniqueadvantage.biz. And you can read all about our team and how we help people. Excited to have Darren here today. I've known Darren for 35 plus years or something like that. Right, Darren?
Absolutely. A long time.
And Darren has a lot of great experience in his life. He's done a lot of different things. He's a good man, and he is an expert on what we're going to talk about today. Before we get your feedback, Darren, I've been reading a lot lately about massive credit card debt that U.S. consumers are piling up, not paying them back, and how we're not saving enough. Now, we've known that for a long time, but now some of the data is starting to come out. I just read this article entitled U.S. Savings Rate Plummets as Consumer Debt Surges. And the article goes on to explain how saving rate, which is a percentage of disposable personal income, has actually now dropped at the end of last year to 4.1%. And it's been less than 5% since June 2023. And when you talk to your clients, what is the principle we teach on saving? How much what's a good goal for them to save?
Yeah. So the principle is to save 15% or more of your total income.
So 15. Mm-hmm. So 4.1% saving rate is a long ways away.
Well, and in fact, I think you said 4.1% of their disposable income.
Yeah, just the disposable
income. Which means that's way lower than their total income.
That's exactly right. Because we know that if you don't put aside a decent amount of your gross income, you're just not going to have enough, right?
Absolutely. In fact, 15% isn't enough. It's better than 10. It really needs to become as much as you absolutely can to get your plan started.
And there's also other problems with savings. There's another article I just came across about how there's a ton of people that have more than $250,000, which is the FDIC insured amount in banks and credit unions and institutions. And the amount that's uninsured beyond that amount is staggering. Silicon Valley Bank's number one on the list. What happened to them?
They went under.
They went under. Bank of New York Mellon and State Street. State Street's one of the big three financial institutions. They both had around 92% of their deposits were uninsured. Just
wow.
Unbelievable amounts, yeah. Right? And then, local banks here that, the Intermountain region, Mountain America, Zions Bank, Key Bank, some Bank of the West, they also have half of their deposits are uninsured. So we're either not saving enough or we're not putting them in the right places necessarily, yeah. Correct?
Exactly.
So what I wanted to have you talk to the listeners about, Darren, is why is it so hard for people to save money? Why it just seems like it's such a problem and has been that way for a long time. Why is it hard for people to save money?
I think first and foremost, they don't have a why. They don't really know why they would be saving. And they have not created a habit. Good habits are hard to create, but doable with effort and discipline. And becoming automatic and systematic is also a key point.
So do most American consumers put savings at the bottom of their list? I mean, why do they do that?
Again, they're consumer driven. They're going to spend as much as they can. I get money, I'm going to spend it, and aren't thinking of future. And so saving is the last resort. That's why it's only, what'd you say, 4.1% of their disposable income, which is hilarious, actually. It's horrendous.
So when do people find out, usually, that what they're putting aside for their future use or to create wealth was not enough?
Usually when it's way too late.
Okay. So psychologically, it's just difficult for people, do you think, to think about the future consequences of not saving enough? Or why don't we save?
Again, I think
We know it's important, right?
Yeah, it's important. I think they don't, they don't know how to create a habit. Maybe you can actually go to your HR department if you're a W-2 employee and have them send a percentage of your check every month directly to a savings account that you don't touch. We would call that a wealth coordination account. But most people don't make that effort. And if you're self-employed and don't have the ability of an HR department, then it just needs to become a habit of your own, where it comes into the bank, and the bank makes that transfer immediately to a separate account that is out of sight, out of mind. It's automatic, systematic. It's done before you touch your money or do anything else with it.
So people that are good at saving, they make it automatic and systematic and that kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about saving, people will say, well, I'm already saving. I'm putting 10% or 15% into my 401k or an IRA that I have. I'm already saving. Why? What's the issue with that?
Yeah. So we have there's three things that should really matter when saving and where you're saving. So one of those is it should be guaranteed. The account you're saving into should be guaranteed.
Which means what?
Which means it can't lose. It can't go below where it's at when you put it in.
Okay.
Second, it should be liquid. And third, it should be accessible. And a 401k, you'd have to ask yourself, does that meet those criteria?
Well, I can take my money out of, if I have just a mutual fund or an IRA or a Roth IRA with mutual funds, I can take that any time I want.
You can.
But why doesn't that follow into the criteria?
Okay, is it guaranteed? Is the money is any mutual fund going to guarantee your money?
No.
Or not?
I guess also if I want money out of my account to purchase a real estate property or something, whatever it is, when's the best time to find the best opportunities? What kind of economy is it? I guess
when the economy's depressed or down.
So if you think about it, right, when the economy's depressed, and that's when you find the best deals, what also goes down?
Your stock value also went down.
Oh, interesting. Fund value. So I think people forget that.
Yeah.
So is there an issue with people's mindset in the United States right now where they don't differentiate between saving and investing then?
Yeah, the how do I say, the financial institutions have done a great job of calling it retirement savings. When you're putting your money into a 401k, that means, or to an IRA, it's going to be in mutual funds or stocks within mutual funds. If you're not an expert in that and don't have any control over it, then is it really saving? We already said it's not guaranteed, liquid, and accessible. So it's almost like they're calling investing saving, and that's critically important to understand.
So this is the Money Maverick show. We're a little bit hard-hitting sometimes by telling the truth. So you're saying that a retirement plan offered by the employer, like a 401k, for example, again, they're not bad. They just do different things. When they call it a retirement savings plan, it's not really a savings plan.
Not in the sense we believe. We believe your savings should not ever be at risk. That's why we say guaranteed, liquid, accessible. And your money in a 401k or an IRA is at risk. There's no question.
So why do they call it a retirement savings plan?
Because it makes us feel better.
Oh, interesting. So is it deceptive to call a qualified plan from your work a retirement plan, a retirement savings plan, if it has the mutual funds in it?
Yeah, I believe that it is.
Yeah. Okay. Again, this is the maverick. We're mavericks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta tell the truth. Doesn't make it bad. It's just maybe that's a little bit deceptive.
No, you just need to understand what it is. Understand you don't have control. Understand you don't know who it is that's investing your money. Nobody knows who their mutual fund managers are. We also know that the mutual funds actually turn the money in their fund every year. Turn every stock every year within that fund. They tell us to give them their money and just want us to let go of it and let them hold on to it, that they don't do that themselves.
That's interesting. So the tendency for people is to do what they think works and is easy. And it doesn't mean that an employer retirement plan sponsored by the company that won't work or get a return. Yeah. You're just saying we need to really understand how it works and how much control or influence we have over it.
Absolutely. In fact, you just said the two words. I mean, we have, we talked about saving, guaranteed liquid accessible. Investing, on the other hand, should be something you can control, something that you are an expert in, which means it may be years of research and study and practice and preparation before you actually do the investment. And then the third thing is don't chase returns.
So you mentioned this wealth coordination account, and you mentioned that good savers have an automated way to save every time they get paid, and it's a systematic way of doing it. They do it through their payroll or whatever it is, or an automatic transfer. What's another issue that people have? So maybe they have it automated and systematic, but what else should people remember about another feature of the importance of savings? What if people don't know why they're saving?
No, that's extremely important. I think that was the very first thing. It was a why. Are you saving money just to retire? I just want to build up. Anytime I've ever asked this question of any of my clients, do you want just to build up a certain amount of money, or do you want to use that money? And so people need to have a why. They need to understand what is their purpose. And
can I use money? Can't I use money from my employer retirement plan whenever I want?
Yeah, it's very difficult to get. There's 5 or 6 different hardship things, if you will, that you can take money out. An automatic loan repayment plan is set up as you do that. Extremely difficult, and it's only a small percentage of that total.
What if I just want to take cash out?
That's not possible. 59.5.
So I can't take it out, or can I take it out and there's a penalty?
I'm sorry. You're right. Yes, you can. You can take it out, but you're going to pay a penalty.
Oh,
along
interesting.
With the taxes.
So without a penalty, you cannot use your own money.
Correct.
Okay. So do you still give credit to your clients when they're contributing to their employer-sponsored plan? I mean, it's somewhat of a good thing that they're voluntarily doing something, right?
It is, and initially, as we're looking to see if they can achieve 15% or more, or whatever amount they decided initially that they can do, we do want to give them credit for that, but just make sure that they understand what it really is.
Interesting. So where do most people out of the gate, what's the most common places people save, or what they think is saving?
I mean, obviously you can put some cash under the mattress at home or bury it in the backyard. You can, use in a bank, and a bank has several options. You've got checking, savings, CD or money market, and CDs in a bank. We like to recommend online savings who don't have the brick and mortar, all the stores and employees that the larger institutions have with, facilities and branches everywhere. So you get a much better rate. And then the last place that most people have never heard of even is the cash value of a whole life insurance policy.
So there's not a lot of places that meet the criteria of what a savings is.
Not a lot.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably a good podcast on how does that cash value insurance work, and how it could be maybe used improperly as well as properly.
Yeah.
That'd be another episode.
Definitely.
So you have these different places where you can save, right? You mentioned at home and checking savings, online, high yield savings, money market account, a CD. And CDs are pretty good right now at the time of this recording, right?
Yeah.
Between 5 and 6% for a short-term CD. So how do you know how much to put into these different vehicles for saving? Like how much do you recommend people have at home versus how much to have in a checking account, versus other things?
No. So we recommend that everyone should have a couple weeks of living expenses in cash at home. And that is strictly for emergencies. We had a friend mention that they'd had an electrical outage in there, and I think it was down in Texas, and they literally, you can't go buy groceries or gas, which are kind of the two critical things initially, with a debit card if the electricity's out. So, so some cash at home, probably a couple weeks. And then we recommend, and remember that the whole purpose of this is to have your money as effective as possible in every part of your plan. So the second place would be have some money in your bank account, and probably a couple months worth of living expenses as kind of an operating account. That can be your online savings. It can be, a local bank, whatever, maybe a combination of that. And then the bulk of it to get the most best effective use of it would be in that cash value life insurance policy.
So why have so little? Like, why did you do it in that order? From under the mattress at home, like, why do you only have a little bit in those types of accounts?
I mean, the idea from top to bottom of that is convenience is at the highest at the top of that order, and the better benefits are at the bottom of that order.
So, okay, that's interesting. So the easier and more convenient it is to put money in and take it out quickly, then what's the trade-off?
The trade-off is you have some guarantee, up to the $250,000, but no interest, no other real benefits for you. Very low interest typically.
Right, because why would the financial institution give you a higher interest rate knowing that you can take the money out?
Yeah, I mean, you probably remember we're older.
Yeah.
You had to go into the bank and say, I'd like to transfer money from my checking account to my savings account.
Right.
Even phone calls were hard because you had to produce a bunch of data. I mean, so it's just easier. Everybody went into the bank, you deposited your check, and you made a transfer to your savings account. And that you don't have to do that. You can do that on your phone in seconds now.
So there's a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
And then some other things you mentioned on the list, you get it's a little more difficult to get the money back instantly. They give you a higher interest rate.
Yes.
Because they suspect, I imagine, that like a high-yield savings account, that you're going to leave it in there maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Because what do the banks do with our money?
Well, they want to flip the money as fast as they can. They want to loan it out and then get it back as fast as they can. Do it again.
And CDs, like I said, they're paying pretty good right now. They're probably going to start going down.
Most likely.
Like they always do. But they actually don't give you that interest rate or even penalize you if you take it out too soon.
A CD will penalize you up to 90 to 120 days, depending on how long the CD is, of just the interest. It's not a penalty with the government or IRS or anybody like that. It's just an interest penalty.
That's pretty interesting. So back to the psychology of saving. When you save appropriately, what other areas of people's finances does that? What does that do for them? If they save what you had mentioned, 15% or more, hopefully more, and they're putting it into guaranteed safe places that are liquid and accessible, what does that do for them in their overall financial kind of planning?
Yeah, so the goal, and this is another principle, we'll talk about it at a different time, but is to have 6 months to a year's worth of income storage. And that's going to take some time. That's not an overnight thing for most people. And what that does is give you unbelievable peace of mind. Every time I've asked a client, if you had your salary, your annual salary in the bank right now, just sitting, just there, how would you feel? And everybody, it's an overwhelming, oh my gosh, I'd feel great because it's just peace of mind. Knowing now you can accomplish two things. Any emergency that comes your way, you can solve quickly. And any good opportunity that comes in an investment way or a business way, you have the ability also to act quickly on that.
Do clients resist when you talk about the importance of saving?
I don't want to say it's resist. I think most people know how critical and important that is. It's just not what we've been taught. Even though we're told retirement savings is savings, it isn't. And they're just not. In fact, this is funny to me. I have a young client, 22 years old. A friend of hers asked her if she could borrow, or didn't ask her. Her friend was explaining a difficult situation, needed $500, and this girl, this client of mine, 22-year-old, had said, "I can loan you that." And the girl was grateful. The friend was grateful, but she was astounded. She's like, "Why do you have $500 in the bank? I mean, I can't even imagine that. I mean, I put my check in the bank and it's gone, She said, "Oh, I've learned to save. I've learned to that's important." And so most people just don't have that. They don't have that ability or that thought process. And it does take time to convert, if you will, to change that.
Why aren't more people saving 15% or more?
I think they don't know that they should. I think they want things now. Again, we talk consumer. We're advertised. We're marketed to so heavily that people think they have to have something better constantly, and it's just go out and get the next best thing. I think that's the biggest reason.
Instant gratification, right? So at the end of the day, saving creates a lot of opportunities, and it will avoid a lot of traumatic experiences financially when unexpected life events hit, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some resources? Obviously, people can talk to you about this. What are some books or resources that you have found to be helpful for people to really, if they want to really get ingrained the importance of paying yourself first? Are there some books you recommend or anything you tell people to do?
Yeah, I mean, the one is Principles-Based Planning by Kyle Christensen,
right?
Who is is a mentor of ours, leader of ours, and he goes into that in depth in there. I mean, there's Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, old classic.
Old classic. It's a very easy read. It's a story. He writes it as a story. He does use 10%. Which we'd say is not enough. Which we can prove is not enough. We can prove the IRA. We can prove that the 401k 23,000 is not enough. To save. So those are two that come to mind immediately.
Oh, good. Okay. Again, this is there's not a lot to go into the weeds on when it comes to saving. It's just really important, and we just need to talk about it more. People are using credit cards more than they're saving. People are living above their means. Look how on our street, in a single day, how many delivery trucks do you think come down the street?
Oh, gosh.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? Amazon will come down 3 or 4 times
Yep.
to a neighbor or our house,
Yep.
right? UPS will drop by, the DHL.
FedEx, yeah.
Sometimes guys will pull up in a car and grab boxes out of the car. The deliveries are going all the time.
Yep.
So the huge corporations have made instant gratification so appealing and easy. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, then we find out there's no money to save.
Yeah.
Which is why your advice is so good. You do it first. You automatically pay yourself into a separate savings account, and it's got a system in place. It's not something you should think about.
No, absolutely not.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, in contrast to that, what should we think about?
Well, you need to think. You mean to investing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that takes a ton of thought and, like I said, research. In fact, I like to say the word invest is part of investigate. And what do you do when you investigate? You turn over every rock. You look under in every corner. I mean, you are going, all out to find out about something. And that's what it should be when you're going to invest.
So what is let's end up, because again, there's not a lot of talk about saving, and it's boring to people, but it's so critical.
Yeah.
Right? it's the reason why it should be at the top of our priority list and why it should be automated. Because we know if we don't automate it, out of sight, out of mind, that's not going to happen probably, or won't happen enough of a percentage. So what's a good money maverick tip of the week from you, Darren, of what are some things people can do practically right now if they're not saving at all or enough, or maybe they're investing and they think they're saving, but what are some practical things somebody can do right now that could help them with this important principle of saving?
Yeah, the word that everybody hates is budget, and so we're going to change that and just use a word called tracking. It's very important that people track their income and their expenses. Too many times I've asked a client or a friend, do you really know what's going on or where your money's going or they don't. They have no clue. They just pull out the debit card or the credit card and it's just constant. And so really tracking income and expenses. There's several easy to use free apps for that. That would be critical. And you need to get a handle on that. That maybe it's going to take you 30, 60, 90 days to try to say, okay, where's this all going? And realize I'm spending a lot more money on lunch or coffee or whatever it is than I need to be, and decide, hey, we can save 15% or 10% or whatever it is, and then set up that wealth coordination account, go talk to your HR department, or set up something with your bank where it automatically gets done.
Beautiful tip. Thank you so much, Darren. It's such an important topic, and we don't talk about it enough, as evidenced by these business articles that are coming about the low savings rate. We've got to do better as a country. We owe it to ourselves and our families to do that. So thank you for coming on the Money Maverick podcast again. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. We hope you have a great week and can take some of these pearls of wisdom and do something about it, especially saving and paying yourself first. Until next time, have a great week.